There is no more important and easily available practice than our breath. Even a simple practice like breathing in for a count of 2 and breathing out for a count of 4 can help calm stress or ground us in moments when we need courage or resilience. So let's do that for a moment. I promised you practice and poetry. So let's begin our practice. We'll breathe in for 2 and we'll breathe out for 4 through our mouths. Breathe in through your nose for 2. Breathe out for 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. We can also do this 2 times breathing by breathing in for 3 counts and then out on 6. So let's try that. Breathe in for 1, 2, 3. And breathe out for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. In, 2, 3. Out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then if you want to get really relaxed, you breathe in for 4 and out for 8. So let's do that. Breathe in for 4, 2, 3, 4. Out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. In, 2, 3, 4. Out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And now I invite you to breathe normally, or keep going, just being mindful of your breath. Whenever we breathe, it gives us a chance to pause and to center and to recalibrate. Just notice how your body feels right now after doing that breathing exercise. Another breathing exercise for resilience that someone recently shared with me is to breathe in and say to yourself as you breathe in, I'm doing my best. And as you breathe out, you say to yourself, I let go of the rest. So let's do that a couple times, just in our minds. Breathe in, I'm doing my best. Breathe out, let go of the rest. Breathe in, I'm doing my best. Breathe out, I let go of the rest. Breathe in, I'm doing my best. Breathe out, I let go of the rest. Breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out. So there's so many different ways that the breath can be of service to us. Our breath goes on magically without us doing anything throughout our entire lives. And we can use it as a tool to ground and calm ourselves in times of stress. So I now want to share a poem with you called The Guest House by Jalaluddin Rumi. This being human is a guest house. Every morning, a new arrival. A joy, a depression, a meanness. Some momentary awareness comes as an unexpected visitor. Welcome and entertain them all, even if they're a crowd of sorrows who violently sweep your house empty of its furniture. Still, treat each guest honorably. He may be clearing you out for some new delight. The dark thought, the shame, the malice, meet them at the door laughing and invite them in. Be grateful for whoever comes, because each has been sent as a guide from beyond. So we're going to do the spiritual practice of Lectio Divina now with this poem, which is Latin for divine reading. And it's another practice for resilience when you're feeling stressed or anxious, to take a piece of poetry or some reading that is meaningful to you, and read it several times and see what springs out to you, what speaks to you. So I'm going to invite Dana up to read that poem again for us. And this time, I invite you, as you listen, to find a word or two that stands out for you or speaks to you.
This being human is a guest house. Every morning a new arrival. A joy, a depression, a meanness, some momentary awareness comes as an unexpected visitor. Welcome and entertain them all. Even if they're a crowd of sorrows who violently sweep your house empty of its furniture, still treat each guest honorably. He may be clearing you out for some new delight. The dark thought, the shame, the malice, meet them at the door laughing and invite them in. Be grateful for whoever comes, because each has been sent as a guide from beyond.
So, what words stood out for you? Just think to yourself, what word or two stood out for you from that reading? So now we're going to read it one more time, and this time I want you to notice a phrase or an image or something that stands out for you that you want to hold on that might give you courage when you need resilience. And Rick is going to read it for us this time.
This being human is a guest house. Every morning, a new arrival, a joy, a depression, a meanness, some momentary awareness comes as an unexpected visitor. Welcome and entertain them all, even if they're a crowd of sorrows who violently sweep your house empty of its furniture. Still, greet each guest honorably. He may be clearing you out for some new delight. The dark thought, the shame, the malice, meet them at the door laughing and invite them in. Be grateful for whoever comes, because each has been sent as a guide from beyond.
So now we're going to do something a little unusual. I know that normally you get to just sit here and listen. But I would like to invite you now to take a moment to turn to your neighbor or two and share what images, words, or phrases stood out for you in that poem. What are you going to take with you? What did it teach you about resilience? And we're going to just take a moment for you each to get a chance to share, and then we'll come back together. So. Thank you all. So if you'd be willing to take your seats, and the next time we share, I invite you to look for someone who may be sitting alone or who may not have a partner, because we're going to do it again a little bit later. But you can let your anxiety go by breathing deeply. So whereas Rumi invites us to find our resilience through acceptance and inviting all of life's experiences in with gratitude and reverence, the poet Maya Angelou gives us a different take on resilience. So during this month in which we honor Black history, I'm aware of the enormous resilience that people of color have had to find for over 500 years now in this country. The Native American people, and then the 12.5 million Africans who were brought to this country to be enslaved, had to find deep wells of resilience to make it through torture and murder and being treated as less than human. For centuries, people of color and marginalized populations have had to muster ongoing courage and resilience in order not to be swallowed up by hopelessness and despair. So I want us to take a moment now to hear from Maya Angelou directly. And she gave us a glimpse into how she did this with her famous poem, Still I Rise. And we're going to show you her speaking her poem now.
Everyone in the world has gone to bed one night or another with fear or pain or loss or disappointment. And yet each of us has awakened, arisen, somehow made our ablution, seen other human beings, and said, "Morning, how are you? Fine, thanks, and you?" It's amazing. Wherever that abides in the human being, there is the nobleness of the human spirit. Despite it all, black and white, Asian, Spanish, Native American, pretty, plain, thin, fat, vowed or celibate, we rise. You may write me down in history with your bitter, twisted lies. You may trod me in the very dirt, but still like dust, I'll rise. Does my sassiness upset you? Why are you beset with gloom just because I walk as if I have oil wells pumping in my living room? Just like suns and like moons, with the certainty of tides, just like hope springing high, still I rise. Did you want to see me broken? Bowed head and lowered eyes, shoulders falling down like teardrops, weakened by my soulful cries. Does my sassiness upset you? Don't take it so hard just because I laugh. As if I have gold mines digging in my own backyard. You can shoot me with your words. You can cut me with your lies. You can kill me with your hatefulness. But just like life, I'll rise. Does my sexiness offend you? Oh. Does it come as a surprise that I dance as if I have diamonds at the meeting of my thighs? Out of the huts of history's shame I rise. Up from a past rooted in pain I rise. A black ocean leaping and wide, welling and swelling, I bear in the tide. Leaving behind nights of terror and fear, I rise. Into a daybreak miraculously clear, I rise. Bringing the gifts that my ancestors gave. I am the hope and the dream of the slave. And so, naturally, there I go rising.
In a moment, we're going to take some silence for you to reflect on what you learn from wise elders like Maya Angelou, who were able to rise again and again in the face of so much adversity. Personally, I'm inspired by her strength and her willingness to go on no matter what. I'm inspired by her courage and realize from her example that I'm stronger and more resilient than I might imagine. How about you? During these challenging times, these times of lies, of deception, of disinformation and harm, what do you do to rise from the mud? How do you rise? Who are some people you admire in their resilience? And what are the traits that you admire in them? So I'm just going to invite you to take a moment to reflect on that and think about what you might take that will give you resilience in times that are difficult. The great Irish poet John O'Donoghue has various different ideas for how to rise out of despair, exhaustion, and find your center again. And here's an excerpt from his poem, For One Who Is Exhausted. And I know there are several of you in this room who might feel that way. I encourage you to read the whole poem, but we only have time for half of the poem right now. This is what he suggests we do when we are exhausted. Take refuge in your senses. Open up to all the small miracles you rushed through. Become inclined to watch the way of rain when it falls slow and free. Imitate the habit of twilight, taking time to open the well of color that fosters the brightness of day. Draw alongside the silence of stone until its calmness can claim you. Be excessively gentle with yourself. Stay clear of those vexed in spirit. Learn to linger around someone of ease who feels they have all the time in the world. Gradually, you will return to yourself, having learned a new respect for your heart and the joy that dwells far within slow time. So what, my friends, helps you return to yourself when you've been rushed or hurried or you're off center? Expressing our gratitude for even the simplest things in life can help us return to ourselves and remember that not all is lost. So I invite you now to think of 3 things in your mind that you're grateful for in this very moment. If you're having a hard time feeling gratitude for life right now, simply look around you and notice something in your environment, or that you have a body and are alive and are breathing in this moment. So try and think of 3 things that you feel grateful for this moment. Breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out. So to close, I want to share a poem by the great American poet and activist Langston Hughes. The great-grandson of 2 enslaved Africans, as well as 2 white slave owners. Hughes grew up in a complex way, difficult circumstances in the Midwest. He knew all about resilience. His father left the family soon after Langston was born, and he spent his life dealing with racism and his covert homosexuality in the early 1900s. I looked to see if I could find him reading his poem, a video of that, but unfortunately it was too early. So we don't have a video, so please forgive me that I, as a white woman, am reading this African American's poem. But I wanted to share it with you because I think it's really important. It's called Life is Fine. I went down to the river. I sat on the bank. I tried to think, but couldn't, so I jumped in and sank. I came up once and hollered. I came up twice and cried. If that water hadn't have been so cold, I might have sunk and died. But it was cold in that water. It was cold. I took the elevator, 16 floors above the ground. I thought about my baby and thought I would jump down. I stood there and I hollered. I stood there and I cried. If it hadn't have been so high, I might have jumped and died. But it was high up there. It was high. So since I'm still here living, I guess I will live on. I could have died for love, but for living I was born. Though you may hear me holler and you may see me cry, I'll be dogged, sweet baby, if you gonna see me die. Life is fine. Fine as wine. Life is fine. Say that with me. Life is fine. May we go into this day remembering that no matter how hard our trials, life is fine.